The courtroom fell silent the moment the girl walked in, not because she was important, but because of the way she carried herself chin up, sunglasses on indoors, and a loud clack of her designer heels echoing like she owned the place. People moved aside as if she were royalty. She didn't even look at anyone, just waved her hand vaguely, like peasants should make way for her legacy. That's when one of the spectators whispered, "Senator Mullet Key Betty High." "Careful, everyone." And instantly, the atmosphere changed. Some people looked impressed. Others looked irritated. But Judge Evelyn Harper, known for her sharp tongue and zero tolerance attitude, just narrowed her eyes as she watched the girl stroll in with a bored, careless smile. The girl didn't see that look. She didn't even bother to look. Instead, she tossed her bag onto the defendant's table with a thud, leaned back in the chair, and started scrolling her phone. Judge Harper tapped her gavel once. "Miss Zara Malik, this is a courtroom, not your father's drawing room. Sit properly." Zara didn't lift her eyes. Yeah, whatever. Can we just get this over with?" The courtroom gasped. Judge Harper stopped writing, stopped breathing, stopped blinking, because never, not once in her entire 30 years on the bench had anyone spoken to her like that. A quiet tension spread across the room like smoke. Even the bailiff took a step forward, unsure whether to intervene. The air felt heavier, as if something dangerous had just been triggered, but Zara only smirked. Judge Harper leaned forward, her voice dangerously calm. "Miss Malik, do you understand where you are?" Finally, Zara raised her face. She removed her sunglasses and placed them slowly on the table, as if giving the judge her precious attention was some kind of gift. "I'm in court," Zara said. "But honestly, I don't see the point. My dad will handle all this." Judge Harper's jaw tightened. "Your father won't step foot into this case. This is your responsibility." Zara actually chuckled. "Ma'am, you clearly don't know who my father is." Judge Harper's eyes hardened. "And you clearly don't know who I am." The spectators murmured in agreement. Everyone could sense what was coming, the clash, the explosion. The moment where reality finally slaps privilege in the face, but Zara didn't sense it at all. She was too busy admiring her nails. The bailiff stepped forward again, his voice low. "Miss Malik, please show respect to the court." "Respect?" She laughed. "For what?" "A room full of nobodies judging things they don't understand." Another wave of shock swept the courtroom. Judge Harper took a slow breath. "Bailiff, read the charges." The bailiff unfolded a paper. "Count 1, harassment of a classmate at her university. Count 2, destruction of property. Count 3, threatening behavior. Count 4, Zara interrupted with an eye roll. "Oh my God, can we skip the drama?" She overreacted. "I didn't even do anything that serious." Her voice was dripping with entitlement. Judge Harper stared at her, studying her face as if piecing together the psychology of a storm. She wasn't angry. Not yet. She was calculating. "Miss Malik," the judge began slowly. "You're accused of humiliating a girl publicly, throwing her project on the floor, and threatening to ruin her future unless she apologized to you. Is any part of that incorrect?" Zara crossed her arms. She was being annoying. And honestly, she deserved it. A girl in the audience wiped a tear. Another student shook her head. Someone whispered, "How can someone be this heartless?" Judge Harper turned her gaze to the frightened girl sitting with her lawyer Sarah, the victim. Her hands trembled. She wouldn't even look at Zara. Then the judge turned back. "Miss Malik, stand up." Zara laughed. "Why? You want to check my outfit? Stand up." The courtroom fell cold. Slowly, almost theatrically, Zara rose to her feet. She still had that arrogant smile, but there was a flicker, just a tiny flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. Judge Harper folded her hands. "Do you believe you are above others?" "Yes." The honesty stunned everyone. Even the judge paused. Zara lifted her chin. "I mean, look around. My family is powerful. I'm educated. I'm wealthy. Why would I be scared of?" She gestured around. "This?" Judge Harper leaned back, absorbing every word. The girl wasn't lying. She genuinely believed what she was saying. "Miss Malik, The judge said quietly, "I will ask you something, and I want a real answer. Sure, whatever. If your father wasn't a senator, if you were just an ordinary girl, would you behave the same way?" Silence. Zara opened her mouth, but no words came out. Her confidence wavered. Not much, but enough for the judge to notice. Before Zara could speak, the courtroom door opened. A woman entered, middle-aged, exhausted, worried. She clutched a file in her trembling hands. It was Zara's mother. Zara froze. "Mom, what are you doing here?" Her mother didn't answer her. Instead, she bowed respectfully to the judge. "Your Honor, I need to speak." Judge Harper nodded. "Come forward." Zara stared in confusion, her arrogance briefly cracking. Her mother stepped up to the podium. She opened the file with unsteady fingers. "Your Honor, I want to submit something. It's Zara's behavioral report from her school, and past complaints." Zara's face drained of color. "Mom, nitrogen monoxide. Why would you bring that?" But her mother didn't look at her. She was looking straight at the judge, tears filling her eyes. "Your Honor, this is not the first time." Gasps erupted in the courtroom. Zara's hand trembled. "Mom, stop." Judge Harper raised an eyebrow. "Miss Malik, is there something you want to tell the court?" Zara swallowed hard. Her breathing shifted. For the first time, just the first fear entered her eyes. A tiny crack in the stone wall. The judge leaned forward. "Because from where I'm sitting, this case is about more than a fight. It's about who you are when no one is watching." And suddenly, just like that, the entire courtroom felt the shift. The story wasn't about the charges. It was about the truth Zara had been running from her whole life, and Judge Harper was about to expose it. Asterisk. Zara's pulse hammered in her ears. A sound so loud she could barely hear the whispers spreading through the courtroom. Her mother stood frozen at the podium, clutching those documents like they were the last truth she had left. Zara stared at her, disbelief twisting her face. "You betrayed me," she whispered, but her voice cracked out. Her mother didn't look at her. She looked ashamed, exhausted, guilty in a way Zara had never seen before. Judge Harper watched both of them with the sharp attention of someone who had waited years for a moment like this. A moment where the mask finally slips. Double quotes, "Mrs. Malik." The judge said softly, "You may continue." Zara's mother inhaled shakily. "Your Honor, Zara has been struggling for years. Her teachers, her dean, even our neighbors, there have been complaints. Many complaints. We tried to discipline her, but..." She paused, wiping a tear. "Her father always shut everything down. He said protecting her image was more important." Zara's mouth fell open. "That's not true, Mom. Why would you say that?" "I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me." But her voice sounded more desperate than confident. Judge Harper leaned forward, eyes locked on her. "Miss Malik, you may speak in a moment. For now, let your mother finish." Zara's jaw clenched. Her breathing grew quicker. The confidence that once filled the room like smoke was now thinning, slipping through her fingers with every word spoken about her. Her mother continued, voice trembling. "Zara, she grew up believing she could do anything and get away with it, that she was untouchable. And every time someone tried to hold her accountable, her father intervened. She looked down. Even I stopped trying." The entire courtroom felt the weight of those words. Zara gripped the edge of her table so tight her knuckles turned white. She swallowed hard, but her throat felt like it was closing. Judge Harper studied her with a slow, patient stare, the stare of someone who had waited decades to see a moment where privilege finally met truth. The judge nodded at the bailiff. "Bring the documents." As the bailiff took the file from Mrs. Malik, Zara stepped forward. "No, don't." She reached out as if she could grab them back, as if she could erase the past by touching the paper. Asterisk, she stumbled, nearly losing balance. Judge Harper raised a hand. "Miss Malik, sit down." Zara didn't. She shook her head hard. "No, this isn't fair. You're all making it sound like I'm some monster." Her voice cracked again, louder this time. The courtroom watched her, not with anger, but with something worse, realization. The girl who walked in dripping arrogance, was now unraveling. The bailiff returned to the judge with the file. Judge Harper opened it slowly, each page sounding heavier than the last as it turned. She skimmed complaints, bullying incidents, vandalism, threats, academic misconduct. Names and dates, patterns, history. Zara's mother broke down quietly behind her, burying her face in her hands. Judge Harper looked up. "Miss Malik, this is serious." Zara shook her head, trembling. "They're just papers. Old papers. They don't mean anything." "Then why are you shaking?" the judge asked softly. The question hit like a punch. Zara froze. Her fingers curled inward. Her lips trembled. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Her mother whispered, "Zara, please sit down." But Zara didn't listen. She turned away from everyone and covered her face, trying to hold back tears, the first real sign of fear, of humanity, of something other than ego. Judge Harper gently set the papers aside. "Miss Malik, I'm not here to tear you down. I'm trying to understand you. Because what I see is not a villain. I see a girl who has never been told no. A girl who believes she must act powerful just to feel alive." Zara flinched, as if those words pierced straight through. "I'm fine," Zara whispered to herself. "I'm fine. I don't need anyone. I don't need sympathy." Judge Harper shook her head. "It's not sympathy. It's truth." Zara turned sharply. "No. You don't know anything about me." "Then tell me," Judge Harper said calmly. "Tell me who you are without your father's title." The silence that followed was suffocating. Zara stared at her, chest rising and falling rapidly. She looked around the courtroom, at the spectators, the lawyers, the students who had come to support the victim. Their eyes weren't mocking her. They weren't angry. They were watching, waiting, listening. For the first time, she felt small. Judge Harper continued, her tone steady. "Let me ask you something, Miss Malik. Why did you threaten that girl? Why did you destroy her project? What did she do to you?" Zara hesitated. Her eyes darted to the victim, Sarah, who sat trembling beside her lawyer. The girl wouldn't look up. She was terrified. Zara's lips parted slightly. Something flickered in her eyes, regret or recognition, or maybe something deeper. But she refused to let it show. "She embarrassed me," Zara finally muttered. "How? She corrected me in front of everyone during a presentation." Zara's voice grew defensive. "She talked like she was smarter than me, like she wanted to put me down." Judge Harper blinked slowly. "So you threatened to ruin her future?" Zara clenched her jaw. "I overreacted, whatever, but she shouldn't have challenged me. Why?" The judge pressed softly. Zara's eyes narrowed. Because I don't like losing. I never have. And who taught you that losing equals weakness?" Zara looked away sharply. "No one." But everyone could tell that wasn't true. Judge Harper leaned back. "Miss Malik, strength isn't measured by how many people you can hurt. It's measured by how many people you can lift without stepping on them." Zara swallowed hard. Her mother finally spoke, voice broken. "Zara, sweetheart, this is your chance. Please tell the truth." Zara's throat tightened. The judge continued, "If you keep hiding behind arrogance, I can't help you. If you keep pretending you're untouchable, I can't help you. But if you tell me who you truly are, why you truly do these things, then maybe, just maybe, this court can do more than punish you. Maybe it can help you." Zara looked at the floor, her breath shaky. Judge Harper leaned forward one last time. "Tell us, Miss Malik, what are you so afraid of?" Zara's lips trembled. For a moment, she seemed ready to speak, to finally reveal the truth buried beneath years of privilege, pressure, and silence. But then, she whispered only one word. "I don't know." And the fragile truth in that simple sentence silenced the entire courtroom. The courtroom air felt heavier than ever. Zara's admission, so small, so vulnerable, echoed like a cannon blast in the silent room. Judge Harper didn't flinch. She let the weight of the moment settle, letting Zara feel the full measure of her own words before speaking again. "Miss Malik," the judge began, her tone calm but firm. "Not knowing is still an answer. It shows awareness. But now we must confront what you have done and what it has caused. Zara's mother buried her face in her hands, silently pleading. Zara's body trembled as though the walls themselves had closed in. Her past arrogance, her careless cruelty, all of it seemed suddenly smaller, meaningless against the enormity of the consequences she now faced. The bailiff stepped forward and handed Judge Harper a thick folder of evidence, video footage from the school security cameras, screenshots of threatening messages Zara had sent, and statements from classmates who had witnessed her manipulations. Every single page screamed the reality Zara had been avoiding for months. The judge opened the folder and looked directly at Zara. "Do you recognize these incidents?" Zara swallowed hard, her eyes darting nervously. "Yes," she whispered. Her voice was barely audible, yet the room leaned in to catch every tremor. Judge Harper continued, unfazed by the tension. "Miss Malik, I want you to understand something very important. Fear, anger, pride, they are powerful emotions, yes. But unchecked, they destroy more than just your target. They destroy the person holding them. They destroy you." Zara flinched. The words struck harder than any lecture, more than any threat of suspension or punishment. She felt herself unraveling. All the bravado, all the carefully constructed armor of superiority, it was melting away under the quiet, unrelenting authority of the judge. Her mother tried to speak, but was silenced by a glance. Judge Harper wanted this confrontation to come from Zara herself, not from anyone else. The judge leaned back slightly, her hands folded on the bench. "You have a chance, Zara, a chance to speak truthfully about what drove you to commit these actions." Zara's chest tightened. She thought about Sarah, the girl she had terrorized, who still sat frozen in her seat, fear evident in every gesture. And yet, Zara realized, for the first time, that fear didn't make her powerful. It had made her weak. Weak in a way she could no longer ignore. She took a deep breath, her hands curling into fists on the edge of her table. I wanted to feel in control," she whispered. Her voice cracked. "I always felt like everyone was judging me. Like everyone expected me to be perfect. And when I wasn't, when someone called me out, I couldn't handle it. I lashed out. I wanted to make them afraid of me. Like I was always afraid of being exposed." The courtroom remained silent, hanging on her every word. Even her mother, tears streaming silently down her face, seemed shocked at the honesty. Judge Harper nodded slowly, absorbing the confession without interruption. "And you've realized what that fear has done to others, yes?" she asked gently. Zara nodded, choking back tears. "Yes, I didn't realize. I didn't know how much I hurt her. I just wanted to feel untouchable. Like I had power. But I see now. It's all wrong. It's cruel." A collective murmur ran through the courtroom. Not anger, not mockery, just the tension of watching someone confront their own moral collapse. Judge Harper's gaze softened slightly, though her voice retained authority. "Miss Malik, understanding the harm you caused is the first step. But understanding alone is not enough. Real accountability requires action. You must face the consequences of your choices. Not to humiliate you, but to guide you, to give you the chance to make amends." Zara's knees shook, and she gripped the edge of her table as if it were the last anchor in a storm. I don't know how to fix it," she admitted, her voice barely audible. "You start by acknowledging the person you've harmed," Judge Harper said firmly. "Directly. In words. To the victim." The courtroom felt unbearably tense. All eyes turned to Sarah, who had barely looked up since the proceedings began. Zara hesitated, trembling. Every instinct screamed at her to retreat, to hide behind excuses, to lash out. But then, in a voice raw with emotion, she spoke. "Sarah, I'm sorry. I never should have done those things. I was angry, and I wanted power. But none of it justifies what I did to you. Her voice cracked. "I hurt you, and I see that now. I want to make it right, if I can." Sarah's eyes welled up, a mixture of shock, fear, and cautious hope. She whispered, I forgive you, but it doesn't erase what happened. No, Zara said quickly. It doesn't, and I'll do everything I can to fix it. I'll take whatever punishment you and the court think is fair. I'll take responsibility. Judge Harper leaned forward, her eyes locking on Zara's. Good, that's a start. But accountability isn't just words. It's actions. You will be required to undergo counseling, to participate in community service with those you have harmed, and to formally apologize in a supervised session. You will also attend a mentorship program to help other students navigate conflict without resorting to threats or intimidation. Zara swallowed hard, nodding, every ounce of defiance drained from her. The reality of her actions and the tangible steps she must now take finally hit her in full force. Her mother reached over and gently touched her arm. I'm proud of you, she whispered. Not for what you did, but for finally facing it. Zara's chest tightened as tears streamed freely. I just want to be better. I don't want to be this person anymore. Asterisk. Judge Harper's voice cut through the emotion, firm yet steady. Then let's make sure you become that person. You will not escape accountability, Miss Malik, but you can transform it into growth. And that is a rare opportunity, one many people never get. The courtroom seemed to exhale as the tension slightly lifted. Zara, still trembling, realized she had stepped into the eye of a storm, the storm of her own choices. And for the first time, she understood the gravity of what it meant to wield power without empathy. The bailiff handed over a document outlining her sentencing, mentorship program, and restitution requirements. Zara studied it carefully, realizing that each line was a step toward redemption. And though the path ahead was terrifying, she felt something she had never felt before: purpose. Judge Harper closed the folder with a definitive snap. Court is adjourned. Remember, Miss Malik, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's facing the consequences of your actions when fear is screaming at you to run. Zara's legs felt weak as she stood. She glanced at Zara, who offered a tentative nod. A small, fragile bridge between two lives, one marked by cruelty, the other by endurance, now extended through the courtroom. Asterisk. Her mother walked beside her, and together they left the courtroom. Outside, the winter air was biting, but for Zara, it felt like the first breath of freedom, tempered by responsibility, by truth, and by the sobering realization that every choice has consequences. As the doors closed behind them, Judge Harper sat back, her expression calm but resolute. She had witnessed the transformation of arrogance into accountability, cruelty into recognition, and fear into courage. And though the road ahead for Zara was long, the first step had been taken in the most profound way. Honesty. Asterisk. The following Monday morning, the hallways of Westbrook High were unusually quiet, the winter chill biting at the exposed skin of students as they shuffled to class. Yet within those walls, whispers and sidelong glances followed Zara Malik like shadows, reminders that the courtroom drama had spilled over into the very environment where she had exercised her cruelty. Every step felt heavier than the last. Every eye on her seemed to carry judgment, curiosity, or quiet satisfaction. Zara's locker, normally a sanctuary cluttered with notebooks and a few personal mementos, now felt like a stage. Students paused just long enough to sneak a glance at her, then moved along, their expressions unreadable. The whispers reached her ears even before the classroom doors opened. Did you see her in court? I can't believe she actually admitted it. I wonder if Sarah forgives her. Zara drew in a shaky breath and tried to focus on her schedule, on her studies. But her thoughts kept drifting back to the courtroom, the judge's words, Sarah's cautious nod, the weight of her own admission. The lesson she had learned there wasn't theoretical. It was embedded in her body, and the way her stomach twisted when she thought of the harm she had caused as she walked into first period. Ms. Reynolds, her English teacher, gave her a measured nod. It wasn't condescending. It was intentional, neutral, yet probing. Zara felt a flicker of anxiety. Ms. Reynolds had been a witness to the earlier harassment, someone who had seen the private side of Zara's behavior, and now she was evaluating how Zara would handle herself in the aftermath. Zara's desk felt like the only anchor in the classroom, but the weight of eyes never left her. She opened her notebook, trying to immerse herself in Shakespeare, yet the words blurred into irrelevance. Her mind replayed the courtroom scene, every echo of Judge Harper's voice reminding her that accountability had consequences. Beyond just legal punishment, it extended into daily life, into the perception of every person she had hurt. During the second period, a message popped up on her phone. Her mother had sent it. Remember your steps today. Small actions matter. Start repairing, not hiding. The note, though simple, grounded her. It reminded her that restitution wasn't only formal, documented, and supervised, it was ongoing. The whispers in the hall, the skeptical glances, the tentative smiles from students she had wronged, they were all part of the path forward. Lunch arrived, and Zara felt the familiar churn of anxiety. The cafeteria, normally a place for distraction and camaraderie, now seemed like a gauntlet. Tables of students broke their conversation mid-laugh to look at her. Even strangers, unaware of the details of the courtroom, seemed to sense the tension surrounding her. She felt exposed, vulnerable in a way that no courtroom or lecture could replicate. Zara chose a seat at the edge of the cafeteria, away from the center, where her presence would draw the least attention. She unpacked her lunch slowly, deliberately, almost ritualistically, trying to find calm in the mundane task. But then a voice interrupted the silence. Zara? It was Sarah. Her voice was tentative, cautious, but unmistakably deliberate. Zara froze, her heart skipping a beat. Sarah's eyes were searching, wary, yet contained no malice, only careful curiosity. Sarah sat down across from her without invitation, a simple act that felt monumental. For a moment, neither spoke. The cafeteria's hum of conversation faded into a dull background buzz. Irrelevant to the gravity of the moment, finally Sarah spoke. I wanted to say thank you. Zara blinked. Thank you? For apologizing. For actually facing what you did, Sarah said. Her tone was calm, restrained, but Zara could sense the careful weight behind each word. It doesn't erase what happened, but it's a start. Zara's throat tightened, and she nodded, words failing her. She felt the full measure of vulnerability, the sharp edge of regret, and the cautious hope of reconciliation all colliding in her chest. I mean it, Sarah. I want to do better. I want to make it right, not just say it. I don't know how yet, but I will try. Sarah offered a small, almost imperceptible nod. I'll hold you to that. But actions speak louder than words. You'll see that, won't you? Zara's eyes met Sarah's, and she felt the weight of accountability settle into a tangible reality. I will. The rest of lunch passed in a tense but silent equilibrium. Other students stole glances, some approving, some skeptical. It was the first time Zara realized that redemption, like accountability, was a process gradual, visible, and often uncomfortable. The afternoon brought another challenge. Community service at the school library, supervising younger students, assisting with reading programs, and mentoring those who might be tempted toward the same cruelty she had once wielded. The experience was humbling. Each interaction reminded her that influence carried responsibility. Each smile she earned, each question she answered patiently, chipped away at the layers of arrogance she had once used as armor by the time she left the library. Dusk had settled over Westbrook High. The winter light cast long shadows across the hallways, painting them with shades of reflection and introspection. Zara walked home slowly, carrying the subtle weight of a day spent confronting not just others, but herself down at home. Her mother greeted her with a knowing look. "How was your first day back?" she asked softly. Zara exhaled, a mixture of exhaustion and cautious pride in her chest. "Hard, but necessary. I feel different. I feel like I'm actually starting to understand what Judge Harper meant. Accountability isn't punishment, it's recognition. Recognition of what I did, and recognition of what I need to become." Her mother nodded, resting a hand on her shoulder. "And that's all I want to see. Not perfection, just effort and honesty. Every day." Zara lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling. Memories of the courtroom, the judge's gaze, and Sarah's tentative acceptance mingled with plans for the next day. She knew the path ahead would be difficult, filled with moments of doubt, temptation, and reflection. But for the first time, she also felt the possibility of change. The next morning, a surprise awaited her at school. A letter, officially delivered, signed by Judge Harper's office, outlining the mentorship program and detailing the steps Zara needed to take for supervised restitution. Each requirement was meticulously detailed: hours of counseling, supervised sessions with students she had harmed, and participation in conflict resolution workshops. The weight of the document was tangible, a constant reminder that her accountability was now a public and structured endeavor. Zara's first mentorship session was intense. She had to lead a discussion with younger students about conflict, empathy, and the consequences of harmful actions. At first, the students were skeptical, quiet, hesitant to engage with someone whose reputation preceded her. But as Zara spoke openly about her own mistakes, without embellishment, without excuses, something remarkable happened. The students listened. Eyes widened in understanding, questions followed, and slowly, the room shifted from suspicion to engagement. By the end of the session, Zara felt a cautious sense of accomplishment. She hadn't erased her past, but she had begun to translate accountability into meaningful action. She had learned the hardest lesson of all: power is meaningless without empathy, and recognition of harm is only the first step toward redemption. Walking home that evening, Zara realized the suspense of her journey wasn't over, it had only transformed. The courtroom drama, the whispers in the halls, the cautious acceptance by those she had hurt, all of it formed a web of consequences she could no longer ignore. But within that web lay the opportunity for real change, for authentic growth, and for the slow, deliberate reconstruction of character. The winter sky above Westbrook High darkened, casting a cool, reflective light over Zara as she walked alone. She felt the weight of yesterday's choices and the responsibility of tomorrow's actions, both pressing upon her in equal measure. And for the first time, she understood what true accountability felt like: terrifying, humbling, and, if embraced, transformative. The path ahead would be long, filled with difficult conversations, tense interactions, and relentless self-examination. But Zara Malik, once the queen of cruelty, was now a student of accountability, learning the hard way that true strength lies not in domination or fear, but in empathy, courage, and the unwavering commitment to make amends. The following week dawned cold and crisp over Westbrook High, a reflection of the new beginning Zara Malik had been forced to embrace. Every morning she arrived at school with a weight on her shoulders, not the weight of arrogance or entitlement, but the burden of accountability. The hallways no longer felt like mere passageways. They had become corridors of reflection, reminders that every action had ripple effects beyond herself. Zara's first class was the mentorship session she had been preparing for with meticulous care. She entered the room early, arranging chairs in a semicircle to foster conversation rather than hierarchy. As the students trickled in, she noticed the familiar mix of curiosity and skepticism in their eyes. Some recognized her from the viral courtroom footage, others from whispers and rumors circulating through the school. Either way, their expectations were high, and Zara felt the weight of each gaze. "Good morning," she began, her voice steady but warm. "I know many of you have heard stories about me, about what I did, and I won't try to excuse my behavior or pretend it didn't happen. I want to talk about what happens when we hurt someone and how we can start to make things right." The room was silent, attentive. Zara took a deep breath and shared her story, not just the public version, but the private, painful reality of her courtroom experience. She described the fear she felt when Judge Harper's gaze pierced through her arrogance, the suffocating tension in the room as she faced Sarah, and the raw humiliation of hearing her actions exposed for what they truly were. She described the heavy silence in the courtroom as the judge reminded her that accountability wasn't punishment. It was recognition, and that growth required effort and honesty. "I don't expect you to forgive me," Zara continued, her voice faltering slightly. "And I don't expect this to erase what I did. But I hope my mistakes can serve as a lesson for you about empathy, about responsibility, and about the power of your choices." Every decision, every word, every action matters, especially when it impacts someone who is vulnerable or trusting. A hand went up one of the younger students, a girl with cautious eyes. But how do you know you're really changing? How can we believe someone who hurt someone so badly? Zara paused, considering her response carefully. I don't expect you to take my word for it, she said softly. I only ask that you watch my actions. My words are only meaningful if they're backed up by consistent effort, by listening, by helping, by correcting mistakes before they escalate. That's what I'm trying to do now every day. By the end of the session, the students were engaged, asking questions, sharing their own experiences with conflicts, and reflecting on how words and actions affected those around them. Zara left the room exhausted but profoundly moved. For the first time, she felt a sense of purpose beyond herself. Her humiliation in the courtroom had transformed into a responsibility she could no longer ignore, a responsibility to repair, educate, and guide Dot over the next month. Zara's life became a careful balancing act. She continued her academic studies, participated in restorative programs organized by the school, and met with Sarah regularly under supervised conditions to discuss the ongoing mentorship program. Each encounter was layered with tension, apologies, guarded trust, and gradual understanding. Zara began to notice subtle shifts, not immediate forgiveness, but acknowledgement of her sincerity and effort. One afternoon, as the winter sun slanted through the library windows, Sarah approached Zara with a folder in hand. I wanted to show you something, she said, her tone measured but not hostile. Inside were the letters and artwork from students Zara had mentored. Children who had once been reserved or disengaged had opened up, sharing their struggles, their successes, and their reflections on empathy. Many expressed gratitude for Zara's honesty about her past mistakes. Zara's eyes filled with tears. For the first time, the consequences she had endured, the courtroom embarrassment, the social scrutiny, the painstaking accountability, felt like they were leading to something meaningful. She realized that the story of her downfall wasn't only about humiliation. It was about transformation. The lessons she had been forced to confront were now rippling outward, affecting lives beyond herself, just as Judge Harper had implied. Spring arrived, and with it, the annual school assembly. The principal, aware of Zara's journey, invited her to speak about accountability, empathy, and the power of learning from mistakes. As she stood on stage in front of hundreds of students, staff, and parents, the memory of the courtroom flashed vividly in her mind. The hush that fell over the audience mirrored the tension she had once felt under Judge Harper's scrutiny. I know many of you have heard stories about me, she began, her voice resonating through the auditorium. I made serious mistakes, and I hurt someone I should have supported instead of mocking. I was arrogant, careless, and selfish. But that experience taught me something invaluable, that accountability isn't punishment. It's the first step toward becoming the person you want to be. It's not about fear or shame, it's about recognizing the impact of your actions and choosing to do better every day. Her words were met with a tense of silence, then applause, cautious at first, then growing as the audience recognized her sincerity. Parents whispered to each other about the unusual honesty, and students leaned forward, inspired by the possibility of growth, even in someone who had once caused harm. The next months became a series of deliberate choices for Zara. She volunteered to assist in local community programs, helped tutor students struggling academically, and participated in school initiatives aimed at promoting inclusion and empathy. Each effort reinforced her personal transformation. Every acknowledgement of progress, every small success, reminded her that redemption was earned incrementally, not bestowed instantly. Sarah, observing Zara's consistent effort, began to relax her guardedness. One afternoon, as they organized a reading session for younger students, she said quietly, "You've really changed. Not perfectly, but you've made a real effort, and that matters." Zara nodded, emotion swelling in her chest. "Thank you, Sarah. That means more than you know. And I'll keep working. I won't stop until I've made amends in every way I can." By the end of the school year, Zara Malik had become an unexpected symbol of transformation. Where once she had been the subject of ridicule, now she was the center of cautious admiration. Students who had witnessed her fall now saw her dedication to growth, and teachers acknowledged her efforts to repair damage and promote empathy. The courtroom lesson, once a source of humiliation, had become the foundation of her personal evolution. On the final day of school, Zara walked through the halls one last time before summer break. Students approached her not to mock, but to offer words of encouragement, gratitude, and acknowledgement. Each interaction reinforced the understanding that accountability and effort could rebuild trust, reshape reputation, and foster meaningful change. That evening, as she reflected on the journey from arrogance to accountability, Zara realized the profound truth of her transformation. Her fall had been public, her mistakes visible, and her punishment unavoidable. But through deliberate effort, empathy, and courage, she had begun to reclaim not just the perception of others, but the integrity of her own character. The courtroom had taught her that words and actions have consequences. The mentorship and community programs had shown her that restitution requires consistency and sincerity. And the relationships she was rebuilding, particularly with Sarah, demonstrated that redemption was possible when humility, effort, and empathy intersected. Zara Malik's story concluded not with a single moment of vindication, but with an ongoing narrative of accountability, personal growth, and restitution. She had confronted the deepest consequences of her choices, and in doing so, discovered the power of transformation. Justice, she realized, wasn't about being feared or admired. It was about acknowledging harm, facing it openly, and choosing each day to act with conscience, empathy, and integrity. And in that realization, Zara found a freedom she had never known, the freedom to live honestly, to contribute meaningfully, and to transform her mistakes into lessons for herself and others.